It goes without saying that this is the Sunday singles match in this week's Ryder Cup that golf fans all across the world are absolutely praying for. Bryson versus Rory. Their rivalry is very much real on the golf course the last couple of years, with them pushing each other in the majors. Bryson coming out on top in their duel for the US Open, and McIlroy getting the better of Bryson when it came around to completing the Grand Slam at Augusta. Thought what better club to put in their hands for the swing analysis here than Driver. Of course, it is the strength of both of these guys' games. And for a bit of fun here, with it being Ryder Cup week, let's go into a deep dive on what makes both so efficient with one of the most important scoring clubs in the bag. As we look at their address positions, there are some differences to look at straight off the bat. Bryson has a little bit of a hover there to the driver, in contrast to Rory, very much has that sole the club flush to the ground. If we look at the upper bodies of both of these guys here in their starting positions, Rory to me looks much more relaxed, a little bit more supple in his arms, in contrast to Bryson, who has actually spoken in the past about this, in that this triangle that's formed from the shoulders and through the arms, he actually tries to apply as much tension as he can through that triangle and tries to keep that consistent throughout his entire swing. His reason for that, which I think is an interesting one for a lot of people to hear, because most people, when they hear the word tension, that is something that they would demonize when it comes to the golf swing and think that that's something that shouldn't be present at any stage within their swing. But Bryson uses that to his advantage. And the reason of how he gets some leverage from that is he feels that if he keeps things stiff, he's able to feel where that club head is in space. So his proprioception is greatly enhanced from this starting position. If he feels that things get a bit soft or loose in his wrist angles or in his arms, he says he then struggles to feel where that club head is during his swing. So in terms of being able to control and manage the club face and manage things like low points, that is extremely important. You can do that a number of different ways, but again, just thought it would be an interesting one to quickly talk about that before we get the club into movement here. And this starting position as well of Rory being a little bit more relaxed in contrast to Bryson, that will then change how we see their wrists work into the backswing. As we get them going, let's start with Bryson and get him going just to the point of about shaft level to the ground and the takeaway. As I said, driver is really a strong weapon for both of these guys in the golf course. So there are some similarities here for sure, and hopefully some nuggets that we'll share here that you'll try and apply and have success with implementing into your own game. As we look at their first move off the golf ball, as we get the shaft level to the ground, plenty of width is present for sure. And again, as a tip for the amateur watching this, or even for the professional that might want a little bit more help with their own game, a nice checkpoint here is just how straight the arms are still to this point here. We're seeing very minimal gap between the elbows, like so. Also, we're not seeing much wrist activity by this stage. We will, and certainly will in one of them more than the other in a second. But again, not much if we look at the angle from the forearm to the shaft here. Not much wrist set by either by this stage. As we get them progressed a little bit further, let's get them to this stage. So just past lead arm level to the ground for both of them. Let's try and get that matched as perfectly as you can to each other. So at that same point, in terms of how far that lead arm has gone, you can see there's a very significant difference in the angles created here. Both of these guys, as we roughly sketch in some lines here, again, we can see some considerable differences here. Bryson with a very much a delayed wrist set, and he talks about trying to keep things at end range with regards to his wrist angles. And again, coming back to the setup position as he keeps things very stiff and rigid, that allows him to feel where that club head is during the swing. As we get them both to the top of the backswing, you can see on these particular swings, Rory's length of his swing is a little bit shorter in comparison to Bryson. His club has nearly gone to parallel to the ground. Rory's a little bit short of that. Two absolutely massive shoulder turns into the backswing. Huge coil from that upper body. If we look at the lower half, we can contrast a few pieces here, most notably with the left side here. If we look at the left knee for Bryson, if we highlight that with a circle, we can see that there's a little bit more in component to it in comparison to Rory's, whose is a little bit more straightforward. There's a little bit of inwardness to Rory's, but not a great deal by any stretch of the imagination here. In terms of how the knees work, they are designed predominantly as flex and extend joints. So you don't want to see a huge amount of inwardness to it in terms of having an efficient golf swing, and even just from an injury prevention standpoint for that matter. If we look at what allows Bryson to have some more inwardness of the lead knee than Rory, he's got some Jack Nicklaus footwork going on here. We can see that lead heel is up off the ground. That lead heel and that left foot is rolling into the ground a little bit as well here. Like so. Versus Rory's, as we can see, is firmly planted to the ground. As we get them moving into the downswing, and we'll stop them both just past impact. As I said, driver is absolutely a superpower for both of these guys. And if we're talking about what makes a lot of players really good drivers of the golf ball, it's this angle here of their spine as they come through the strike. So you will struggle to see someone who's a really, really strong driver of the golf ball that doesn't have an image close to replicating this part of how their spine is working. So, or if you didn't want to talk about it in terms of the spine, just for painting the picture of giving you another visual to work with, if you're trying to rob this part of their technique to apply into your own game, you could describe it as the hips and the shoulders and their relationship to each other. So let's say if we marked the middle of the hips, if we roughly try and sketch that in here for Rory, his lower center, middle of the hips roughly drawn in there, versus middle between the shoulder blades drawn in. If we mark that same position for Bryson, both centers, and then let's just use a different color for the sake of making this easy to see. You can see how there's that angle there created, like so, which is then shown up in this angle here from their shoulders. Now that's on a bit of an inclination down to the ground here, still by this point. So as I said, this is a really key position for a lot of guys that are strong with the driver. They aren't in exactly the same position though. Again, there are some other similarities in that you can see there's this elongated look to the right leg. That's very much only present if we're moving our pressure and our weight forward throughout the swing. Again, these are both long hitters, and what we tend to see for the longer guys on tour is that they transfer more weight and more weight sooner to that lead side. So again, this elongated look to the right leg is just showing us that that has happened. In terms of a difference, if we were to bring them back to the start here, and I know everybody likes to admire these swings here, so I don't want to draw too many lines or circles onto the screen here to the point where you are struggling to see them. But just to highlight another key piece here, as a difference, they aren't exactly the same at impact, in that as they come through just past impact, you'll see Rory is a little bit more back and behind. He's dropped the side a little bit more and is back behind it more so than Bryson in terms of how much he's moved down and out of the circle as regards to Rory. As we clear out some of these lines, Bryson, as we get him to right arm level to the ground and the follow through, we try and get Rory into that same position. Again, they're both very wide with their arcs through the golf ball. If we were to draw a line here as well, again, the arc quite wide. Rory's actually a little bit short of where Bryson is at that point. Perhaps a little bit more wrist hinge or rehinge on the way through, more so for Rory. which is mirroring the backswing. We could see that Rory had a little bit more wrist activity in the backswing in comparison to Bryson when he had his stiff arms, stiff wrists that he likes to have in the setup position and try and keep that consistent throughout the swing. So no real surprise to see that he stays wider and longer on the follow through as well. And as we get them both extending up into their finish positions, two very classic looking follow through positions. Hopefully you've learned a couple of bits from the video that you can take and apply to your own game. Hopefully you're all set and have the popcorn well stocked up for what I'm sure is set to be a phenomenal, entertaining week in front of the TV for this year's Ryder Cup. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps with the growth of the channel, and it also ensures that you won't miss out on any future content coming from myself. And this week of all weeks is certainly a week that you don't want to miss out on. Plenty more videos soon to be released covering detailed insights, all things Ryder Cup based for the week that's in it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and be first to receive a notification anytime a video goes live. If the motivation levels have been cranked up a notch or two thanks to the excitement of the Ryder Cup this week, and you're serious about taking your game to that next level of performance, there's an opportunity for you to connect with myself no matter where you're based in the world, thanks to the online platform that I use for my online coaching called Skillist. I will leave a link underneath the video in the description for you to download it. Otherwise, you can simply head to the App Store and search for Skillist and search for my coach's profile account, Seán Marks. If the concept of online coaching is something that you're unfamiliar with, when you search my profile after downloading the Skillist app, you will be able to see plenty of student testimonials and even insight into a live lesson to show you exactly what my coaching style is like and how I use the online platform Skillist to deliver my instruction. Everything is personalized exactly for the person that's reached out to receive coaching. There's nothing pre-recorded. Everything is tailored exactly to you and your needs. The promo code that you can enter up until a deadline of this Sunday at midnight, to be exact, on the final day of the Ryder Cup this year, you'll be able to enter the promo code SMGORC50 at checkout to receive a massive saving of 50% off your first month on any of my online coaching programs. I will bring full details up on the screen here for you to check it out. This is an opportunity not to be missed. Make sure you take advantage of it before the week's out.